Miracles are not violation of natural laws, but they follow higher laws. Shri Kalki Bhagavan. Narasimha Kalki in my heart, laid the donkey mind off from the start. Thought it was my master sat on my head. Now the donkey's gone, that illusion is dead.
Imagine carrying a braying, stubborn, 400-pound donkey on your shoulders everywhere you go.
Oh, wow. Just everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, to the grocery store, to your job, even trying to go to sleep with it. It sounds completely absurd, doesn't it?
It sounds exhausting, honestly.
Right. But according to a highly specific and honestly fascinating spiritual text detailing the teachings of Sri Narasimha Kalki Bhagavan and Sri Amma Bhagavan, that is exactly what your mind is doing to you right now.
Which is a pretty wild claim when you first hear it.
It really is. So for you listening, our mission today in this deep dive is to figure out how to get that donkey off your head.
I think we all could use a little relief from that.
Absolutely. We are going to unpack one vividly fascinating metaphor from this text. The goal is to explore this exact concept.
Go for it.
When Narasimha Kalki in your heart, your indweller, has laid your donkey mind on your head off, you will become the Narasimha Kalki, your true self.
That is definitely a dense piece of text.
Yeah, so, okay, let's unpack this, because I think anyone listening right now is going to need a translation. Like, what on earth is a donkey mind?
Right.
And before we go any further, who or what is Narasimha Kalki and the indweller?
We definitely need to define those terms immediately. Otherwise, this whole metaphor just sounds like a surrealist painting.
Totally. So where do we start?
Let's start with the indweller. In this specific spiritual framework, the indweller is the divine presence that already exists inside of you.
So it's not some external force coming in.
Exactly. It is your deepest core consciousness, like the fundamental spark of the divine.
Okay, I am with you so far.
And the text refers to this inner divine presence as Narasimha Kalki. It is a specific name for the highest, most awakened state of being.
Got it. So if we put that back into the metaphor.
The text is essentially saying that when your inner divine presence finally removes the heavy, stubborn burden of your everyday mind, you merge with that divinity.
The everyday mind being the donkey, right?
Right. When that unchanging donkey is removed, you fully merge with that inner divinity and you become your true self.
Okay, well, that makes the metaphor much clearer, but it also presents a really radical assertion, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Flip thinking.
Because, I mean, we usually celebrate the human mind. We consider it our greatest asset as a species.
Sure, the master control room.
Yeah. Yet this text is framing the mind as an unchanging donkey that is essentially ruining our lives.
The teachings flip our normal understanding completely upside down.
Yeah.
We treat our minds as this vital, living organ.
Right.
But these teachings argue that the mind is actually a dead thing.
A dead thing. That is intense.
Think of it less like a living, breathing entity and more like a mechanical filing cabinet.
Okay, a filing cabinet. So it's just storing stuff.
Precisely. It is merely a process of past thoughts, old conditioning, and memories. It's just a flow of the past moving constantly through the present to project into the future.
So it's never actually in the present moment.
Exactly. It has no actual life, no ability to experience the now, yet we give it absolute authority.
We let the filing cabinet run the whole office.
We do. And we experience so much suffering because of this massive role reversal. Instead of you riding the donkey is riding you.
Wow.
Its head is quite literally resting on your head, and its legs are draped over your shoulders.
I want to push back fundamentally on that framing, though, because calling the mind a dead thing feels, I don't know, overly reductive to me.
How so?
Well, my mind is also what creates art, or feels empathy for a friend, or figures out how to build a house. Are we really saying the mind is entirely anti-God and completely dead?
It is about the distinction between using a tool and being used by it. Building a house requires the mind.
Right, you need the math and the planning.
Exactly. That is practical utility. But the text argues the mind cannot create true empathy. It only mimics it based on past definitions.
Oh, I see. It's just accessing the empathy file from the cabinet.
Right. And to give this some ancient context, these teachings draw on older wisdom to explain this exact dynamic.
What kind of older wisdom?
Well, in Bhagavad Gita 6.56, Krishna says the mind can be one's friend when controlled and one's enemy when uncontrolled. For one who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, the very mind will be the greatest enemy.
Okay, so the uncontrollable mind is the heavy dead weight on our shoulders.
Yes, the donkey we refuse to put down.
But if it's just an enemy weighing us down, why don't we just shrug the donkey off our shoulders when we wake up on a random Tuesday morning?
Because of the very core of our being, as we currently exist.
Which is what?
Fear. The text states bluntly that deep inside of us right now, the foundation is fear. And that fear is the glue attaching the donkey to our heads.
It's a fear that hasn't evolved one bit, has it? Even as the world around us has transformed.
Not even a little bit. The object of fear changes over the centuries, but the psychological mechanism is identical.
Right, like the text points out, a Neanderthal was terrified of an unsuccessful hunt or some predator in the dark.
Or a medieval person feared the plague.
Exactly, and modern man. We are terrified of a stock market crash or our partner leaving us or failing at our careers.
It is the exact same existential dread, just dressed up in modern clothing.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Think of our daily existence as desperately pedaling a bicycle.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Right. If you stop pedaling, the bike loses momentum and falls over.
It crashes.
Exactly. The text argues that if your brain stops creating these continuous mental formations, or if the speed of your sensory coordination is reduced even a fraction, this illusion of you would simply cease to be there.
The separated self would be gone.
Yes. And here's the kicker. Nature and God are actually trying to make that cessation happen all the time.
Because the natural state is unity.
Exactly. But we aggressively resist it out of sheer primal terror of being gone.
We are absolutely terrified to stop pedaling. We believe that ceasing to exist as an individual ego would be annihilation.
So we keep carrying the donkey.
We do. We cling to the mind because the mind is the engine generating the illusion of our existence. We'd rather carry a crushing weight than step into the unknown of not being us.
But if that terror keeps the donkey anchored to us, how does that play out in our emotional reality?
Well, it plays out as constant strain.
Because if clinging to what the text called our small self is the heavy lifting that exhausts us, it has to be the root of our everyday suffering.
It is. The text looks incredibly closely at how we define suffering, and it offers a precise, uncompromising equation.
What's the equation?
It states, it is not that you suffer, you are suffering. You are equal to suffering. If you are there, that is suffering.
Okay, I have to challenge this equation.
I figured you might.
I mean, that existing as me equals suffering, because if I am eating my absolute favorite meal with my best friend, laughing until I cry, I am very much experiencing myself as me.
Sure, you feel very present as an individual in that moment.
Exactly. And I am certainly not suffering in that moment. How does the text reconcile those moments of genuine human joy with the claim that the individual self is pure suffering?
That is a crucial distinction to make. The joy you feel at dinner is real, but it is bounded. It is conditional.
Bounded to how?
Well, to exist as a limited, individual small self means you inherently only know boundaries. You know where you end and your friend begins.
Okay, physically separated.
Right. You know where the good meal ends and hunger begins. It is a narrowing down of reality. And because there are boundaries, there is always friction.
Even doing the good parts.
Even during that dinner. Think about it.
Huh.
The background hum of the mind is always operating.
It's saying things like, will this end soon?
Exactly. Or, does my friend really like me? I eat too much. You are constantly defending and maintaining your borders, physically, emotionally, and mentally.
That does sound exhausting when you put it like that.
The text argues that the structural reality of being separated is the suffering, even if you have temporary moments of relief.
And the mind thinks incredibly highly of itself because it is the architect of those borders.
It loves the borders.
Yeah, it relies heavily on logic and reason to keep the walls up and secure.
Because logic is the ultimate tool of boundaries. It categorizes, it divides, it defines what is this and what is that.
But logic has its place.
Right, absolutely. The text fully acknowledges that logic and the mind are necessary for functional worldly things. If you are building a bridge, you need strict boundaries in physics.
You definitely want logic for a bridge.
Right. But for inner things, for spiritual connection and unity, the logical mind is a massive, impenetrable obstacle.
Because the mind is trying to use the tools of separation to achieve unity.
Exactly. It's a mismatch of tools.
It's like a calculator trying to understand a beautiful sunset. It just doesn't have the hardware for the input.
That's a great way to put it.
It only knows how to divide and multiply. It doesn't know how to simply experience the warmth of the sun.
It just can't process it.
And the source text uses this great metaphor of standing at the edge of the water to explain this trap. Because we are so attached to our logical calculators, we think we can study our way out of our own suffering.
We stand on the shore and we plan.
Yes, we read books on swimming mechanics, we strategize our strokes, we debate water temperature.
Trying to logic our way into swimming.
Exactly. And the text says you can plan until doomsday using all the logic in the world, but you are never going to swim that way. Wait, so how do we escape? Do we just have to jump without a parachute?
Eventually, yes. You just have to take the plunge into the water, utterly terrified, not knowing how to swim at all.
So if planning, logic, and reason absolutely will not help us take that plunge,
Which they won't.
if they're the very things keeping us trapped on the shore with a 400-pound donkey on our head, what mechanism actually gets us into the water?
It's a radical shift.
How do we bypass the calculator?
Well, the text offers a solution that is completely radical. It says the mind cannot be coaxed, negotiated with, or reasoned into surrendering.
So what happens to it?
The mind must be intentionally broken.
Broken. That sounds slightly terrifying.
The teaching lays out a stark reality. As long as you are functioning within the confines of the mind, you and God cannot come together.
Because there's no room for both.
Exactly. Within the logical mind, there is zero scope for the divine. The text considers the mind, in its role as a separator, to be entirely anti-God. Where the mind ends, God begins.
So to reach that beginning, the mind has to experience a systemic failure.
A total crash of its operating system.
And to facilitate that failure, the text introduces the role of physical miracles, right? Specifically as taught by Sri Amma Bhagavan.
Yes, and to be clear, they are not speaking in metaphors here.
Right, these are actual described events.
The text explicitly describes events like honey inexplicably appearing out of nowhere, or water manifesting in a dry vessel, or the Paramatma physically eating food offered to it.
Let's quickly define Paramatma for clarity.
Good idea. In this context, it refers to the Supreme Soul, the absolute divine reality, or God.
Got it. So the text is describing the physical manifestation of the divine interacting with the material world in impossible ways.
Yes, and we really have to understand the specific psychological utility of these events.
So they aren't just for show.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, these miracles aren't just parlor tricks meant to dazzle an audience.
What are they then?
The text refers to them as phenomena. By their definition, a phenomenon is something that completely defies explanation, cannot be modeled by logic, and yet holds immense significance.
So wait, the miracles aren't necessarily about the honey itself. The honey appearing is incredible, sure, but the actual target of the miracle is the impact of that unexplained honey on our stubborn, rigid logic.
Exactly that. Remember, the mind's entire identity is based on the belief that it knows the rules of the universe.
Right, it rules through strict logic.
When the mind witnesses a true phenomenon, something utterly impossible according to its own hardwired physics engine, it cannot process it.
It is blue screens.
It causes a fatal error in the brain's cognitive software. The text says that witnessing something that cannot be explained or understood makes your mind quite literally go to pieces. It shatters the illusion of control.
But why does the collapse of those logical boundaries result in spiritual awakening rather than just madness or a psychotic break?
That's the core of the teaching.
If my logic shatters, why don't I just lose my mind entirely in a bad way?
Because the mind isn't the container of your sanity, it's the prison of your consciousness.
Oh, wow.
The logic isn't holding you together, it's holding you back. When the prison walls of logic fall, you don't lose your mind in a way that causes insanity.
What happens instead?
Instead, the heavy donkey simply falls off your head. The tight, exhausting grip of the small self is broken, and you gain access to a much broader reality.
That moment of the donkey falling circles us right back to our central mission for this deep dive, the metaphor of the indweller.
Right, coming full circle.
When the donkey mind is let off, the text says the indweller, Narasimha Kalki, steps forward and reveals your true self.
And the text provides a very precise definition of what that true self actually is, contrasting it against the small self we've been discussing.
Let's hear it.
It states, when the small self is erased, the big self remains. The big self is existence, consciousness, and bliss.
Existence, consciousness, and bliss. That sounds amazing. But what does a Tuesday afternoon actually look like when you are operating from this big self instead of the small self?
According to the teachings, the external world looks the same. but your internal reality is fundamentally transformed.
So I'm still doing my laundry, going to work.
Yes, but you discover experientially, not just intellectually, that you are the universe and that you are the other people around you. The boundaries causing all the friction and suffering are gone.
That's a huge shift.
Now, it's important to clarify that your human conditioning doesn't just vanish into thin air. You don't get amnesia. You still have preferences, memories, and personality quirks.
So I'm still me, in a sense.
Yes, but the dynamic of power shifts entirely. Before, your conditioning used you. It dictated your reactions. Now you use it.
The source text gives a brilliantly practical, everyday example to illustrate this shift. Imagine someone hands you a menu at a restaurant.
I love this example.
If you are operating from the big self, you still use your conditioning to pick a dish. You might naturally prefer spicy food over mild.
Right, you still have taste buds.
But, and here is the massive difference, if the waiter comes back and says your chosen dish isn't available, you wouldn't, as the text puts it, die from craving.
You don't spiral into frustration.
Exactly. The preference was there, but the desperate, clawing attachment, the suffering when your individual will is thwarted, is completely gone.
The disappointment doesn't land because there is no longer a rigid small self there to feel threatened by the rejection.
It's just out of stock. Move on to the next item.
Exactly. When the small self is out of the way, even the most mundane interactions become extraordinary. And this leads to the ultimate crowning result of this awakened state.
Which the text describes with incredible depth, doesn't it?
It really does. It says, when you are gone, what is there is causeless love. Simply love for no reason. The love which you know has a reason. This love has no reason. It is just there.
Causeless love. That is such a challenging concept for our logical calculators to process.
It really breaks the calculator entirely.
Because every single type of love we typically experience in the small self state has a defined cause. I love you because you're kind to me.
Or I love you because we share DNA.
Exactly. I love this hobby because it boosts my dopamine. It's highly transactional, even when we dress it up in romantic poetry.
The love we are familiar with is basically an exchange of goods.
That's a bit bleak, but true.
The text argues that because it has a reason, it isn't truly love at its highest form. It is vulnerable. If the reason disappears, if the person stops being kind to you, the love disappears.
So it has strict limits.
Yes. And joy that has limits is always shattered by the fear of losing it.
Circling back to fear.
Exactly. But when you, the bounded ego, are no longer there, you could look at a stray dog or a tiny ant carrying a crumb on the sidewalk or a stranger on the subway and feel an overwhelming, profound love for them for absolutely no reason whatsoever.
It doesn't require a transaction.
It doesn't. It is just the natural default state of existence when the mind isn't in the way.
And the people who have achieved this, who have let the indweller take over and left the self behind, the text says they live in joy 24 hours a day.
Because there's nothing to disrupt it.
Right. Nothing ever offends them, affects them deeply in a negative way, or brings them down because there is no them left to be attacked or brought down.
The defensive walls are gone.
It is a permanent state of boundless, uncaused joy. So what does this all mean for you, listening right now? Let's trace the massive journey we've just taken through these teachings.
It's been quite a journey.
The text paints a stark picture of humanity trapped in a fearful, heavily burdened existence. We are wandering around exhausted, terrified of losing our individual identities, desperately pedaling the bicycle of our minds.
Trying not to tip over.
We are driven by a dead donkey that we mistakenly believe is who we actually are.
We cling to logic and planning to save us. We stand on the edge of the water, reading books about swimming, absolutely refusing to jump in.
But the path forward, according to Sri Narasimha Kalki Bhagavan and Sri Amma Bhagavan, isn't to logic our way out of the trap.
It's the exact opposite.
It is to recognize the absolute fundamental limitations of our logical calculator, to allow ourselves to witness the unexplainable phenomena of life and let our rigid defensive minds be shattered by the impossible.
So that we can finally take that blind, terrifying plunge into the water.
And what waits in that water isn't the drowning we feared. It is the big self. It is Narasimha Kalki. It is boundless, uncaused joy.
Which leaves us with a fascinating final thought to chew on.
What's that?
If the teachings are right, if shedding the donkey mind reveals a universe that is fundamentally made of causeless love just waiting to be experienced, what does that imply about the very fabric of reality itself?
Oh, wow.
We spend so much time fearing a hostile, chaotic universe. But is the cosmos actually inherently benevolent, just quietly waiting for us to put down the heavy burden of our own logic so we can finally notice?
That is a massive paradigm shift to sit with today. We want to thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into these profound spiritual teachings. It's been an incredible exploration of the mind and what lies beyond it.
A truly paradigm-shifting text. Thank you for taking the time to explore it with us.
Until next time, maybe try to notice when that stubborn donkey is braying in your ear, demanding you defend your boundaries, and see if you can't just put it down for a moment. See you next time.
Miracles are not violation of natural laws, but they follow higher laws. Shri Kalki Bhagavan. Narasimha Kalki in my heart, laid the donkey mind off from the start. Thought it was my master sat on my head. Now the donkey's gone, that illusion is dead. Narasimha Kalki, thunder and light, breaking old patterns in the middle of the night. The burden is gone, my vision is clear. The living divine is already here. Physical miracles came to break my mind. Biggest problem I had left behind. The donkey kept saying I'm the king, obey. Narasimha Kalki swept it away. The mind had logic, the mind had pride. The mind said God could never arrive. A million reasons, a million claims, but the donkey kept playing the same old games. Thunder came fast, no time to ride. The donkey got laid off in a thunderous stride. No warning letter, no second chance. Narasimha Kalki led the dance.
Narasimha Kalki in my heart, made the donkey mind off from the start. Thought it was my master sat on my head. Now the donkey's gone, that illusion is dead.
Honey manifested inside my home. Signs of the divine where I roam. Fruits I offer with love and prayer. Got eaten for days, though nobody was there. Phenomenon, phenomenon. The donkey can't explain what's going on. Phenomenon, phenomenon. Higher laws keep moving on. The mind wants proof, the mind wants control. But miracles shook the walls of my soul. Past made thoughts tried to run the show. Now I see my Kalki said, time to go. The mind is the past flowing day by day, dragging old memories all the way. Useful for the world, useful for trade, but not for the truth that can never fade. Where the mind ends, God begins. Beyond all losses, beyond all wins, I stopped believing every thought I heard and found the power beyond every word. The donkey shouted, I'm wise, I'm right. The miracles flashed like lightning bright. The harder it argued, the faster it fell. Released from the prison it built so well.
No longer carrying that weight above. Only awareness, grace, and love. No longer trapped in the noise and fear. Narasimha Kalki is living
Said reason, miracles answered. Mine said doubt, grace just danced there. Mine said impossible, honey appeared. Mine said explain, the phenomenon cleared. The donkey retired at thunder speed. Now I see my Kalki planted the seed. The master I sought was never apart. Now I see my Kalki lived in my heart.
Narasimha Kalki in my heart. Made the donkey mind off from the start. Thought it was my master sat on my head. Now the donkey's gone, that illusion is dead.
When the donkey left my head completely, I became Narasimha Kalki, living freely. Phenomenon, phenomenon shining bright. Higher laws revealed the inner light.
Money manifested, blessings unfold. Stories of miracles endlessly told. The donkey is gone, the burden is free. Now